Hi, and welcome back to this series on FastAPI and HTMX full stack Python development. So in the last episode, we went through how to set up security, authentication, and session with our users. So that was a really long episode. So that's honestly like a big major part is getting the security set up. So that was a big milestone that we got past that. And now I think we're getting to the really exciting parts, which include adding features that our users will see. So on this video though, we're first before we start adding more features, we're just gonna go through and do a little bit of refactoring on our front end. And in particular, we want to do the dry principle, which is do not repeat yourself. So we're gonna go through in our templates and try to break them down into smaller chunks of code that we can just keep reusing as much as possible. And in particular, we're gonna introduce the extends block, which we can use for basically setting up a template, which is a base template, which we can use throughout our page to keep the everything looking consistent. And then we'll go through after that and add a navigation bar, which will allow us to sign out, sign in, and log in, register, all that good stuff on the top banner of the page. And then finally, we'll refactor the added post a bit just to make it a little bit more user friendly. So let's hop into it. So the first refactor we want to do is we want to make a template. So if you notice here, the layout of this main page that we have here, it looks a little bit different than if we go to our login. So if we go to /login, you'll see here we get a different style. And then again, if we go to sign up, we'll get a different style. So what we want to do is we want this all to kind of have the same exact layout. So we'll go back to our code here and we'll make a new template, and we're going to call this one base. We'll call it our base.html. So the first thing, I'll go and just copy the index because it's actually going to be pretty similar to our index file here. And we'll just go through and start deleting what we don't need. So we don't need, we'll keep everything here starting from this first div class here. So this is going to have the input. So we'll go ahead and start removing that. So this will be our base right here. So we'll include all these scriptings and everything that we have on here. But the next thing is that we need a way for our new ones to extend from here. So what I'll do here is I'm going to define this as a block. This will be our block called content. So this is our block of content here. And so now let's go to our index, and we can now just start to delete all this until we get to the actual content itself. So the first thing we'll need to do in order for this to be a template is we'll say, we'll give it the extends, and we'll have to give it the file name that it extends from. So in this case, it's going to extend from the base.html. And then on here, we'll say this is actually going to be the block content. Block content. And then this will be the end block. End block. And then now if we go back, and let's go back to our index, we get an internal server error because it's unexpected end of template. Tinjo was looking for one that tags end block, so it needs to be end block there. So actually we forgot to put the end block on here on our base. So we'll have to do this, and then we'll have to do end block here. And then now if we go back and refresh, that should fix that. And so here we can see we get our template. So now we want to extend that base again for the login and our sign up. So we'll do login first. And again, remember, we don't need any of this here. So we just need the actual content. So again, we'll say this extends. This extends, the base.html. And then this will be the block of our content. Block of our content. So let's go to our login and see if we can get that to update. And we need the end block again, so let's see. We must have forgot to put the end block on there. Yeah, so this is supposed to be an end block. And we don't need this content here. And let's go back and visualize and see if we can get that to work. So now we can see we got the content is starting to look. And then while we're at it, let's make this kind of consistent with our home page. So we'll use the same class names for our for this. So we'll say this is going to be on our input text. We'll say this is going to be a class of input. Go to an input, and then same thing on this. This will be a class input. Input, and this will be a class of button. And then now we go back. And we can see that indeed we get this to work out. Now the next thing to notice here is that for our sign up, that we still have the same field here with username and password and submit. So basically we can probably just reuse that component just to make sure everything's more simpler. So we'll actually just go and break this little form out into its own component. So in order to reuse this form, we're first going to go through and create a new template called user form.html. And in this user form, we're just going to go and actually just copy all this this form in. So let's go into our user form, put it in here, and let's save this. Now in order to add that into our login, we can use an include block. So we'll say include, and we want this to be our new user form.html. And so what this will allow us to do is it will allow us to reuse this user form for our register and our login. So let's just go here and let's go back and visualize it on our page. And yep, as you can see, we get it here. So now let's go, and the last thing we need to do is the register page. So if you do the register, it's a sign up. Sign up. We'll still get the same template, so let's go and fix this real quick. So let's go to our sign up page, and we're just gonna do the same process we already did. So let's just go and delete everything that's not part of the content. This right here is going to be our, so this right here will be our include block, our include, and this is going to be our user form.html. And then now we can just go through and delete all this. And then finally, we'll just need to go through and extend that we're part of, which the base template that we're extending from. And this could be base.html. And let's go back and see how our sign up form now looks. And we can see we're getting the correct layout. So we need to put here that this is part of a block of content. Block content. And then again, we'll go and do our end block. End block. And now if we go back, we indeed get it centered. But the next thing with our sign up is that with our form on user form, the default is going to go to login. So We'll actually want to correct this. Remember, whenever we did the register, we don't want it to go to the login route. We want it to go to the sign up route. So we'll do a new thing here. So we'll say action, and then we'll do this on a new line here. So we'll say this will be an if block, if, comma, login. And then we'll do the / login. Otherwise, else, we want to go to our / sign up. And I believe that's the correct route, if I remember correctly. And then we'll do our end if. So let's go into our app, and we'll just need to add that to our context. So for the sign up, we want to add the context of context is equal to, and we called it login. We'll say login is equal to false. And we'll pass it here to our context. And let's do the same thing for the login, except in this case, it's going to be true. And let's see if that works. So sign up. So we'll say test user 9, give it a thing. And we went to there. We can log in as test user 9 and verify we can still sign up as test user 9. And now we're logged in as test user 9. Test from user 9. And let's go to our post here, because it looks like now our posts aren't updating. So let's figure out what's going on with our post. So we need to go to our post.html, and then our login, our index here. And we forgot to move this end block to the end here. So move that to the end here, and we get our post to come in. And there we get it from our user. So now we got the layout looking all right. So the next thing will be to set up a navbar. So in order to get the navbar, we'll add a new template here. So let's go and add one in, and we'll just call it navbar.html. So for this one, we're just going to go and just kind of copy some of the stuff from the Bulma website. So let's go to Bulma.io, and the content we want to get is going to be under components and under navbar. So we'll pull up the navbar. And the most important thing that we'll need is this div class for a navbar. So I'll go ahead and copy this and just add it into this template here. And then the next thing we'll want is we just want to get it on the right hand side where it says the sign up and the login. We just want to get those. So let's just go and find the portion of it that has the sign in and login. So it's this right here, and we'll just go and copy this all right here. And then we'll just put it directly into our code base. So that should give us the login and sign up. So let's go back into our base template, and on here we want to include that that bar. So in here we'll say below the body we want to include that nav bar. So we'll do include, and we want this to be the navbar.html. So let's go back to our website and see if we get a navbar now. As you can see, we do. We get a navbar with the sign up and login. But the issue is that we're actually currently logged in. So really, this should be showing us sign out. So let's go and make sure that we can update this using our Jinja templating to give us the right bar. So on our navbar, we want to have some logic where if we are signed in, we will show a sign out button. Otherwise, if we're signed out, this portion will show up. So under here, we'll say user. So we'll say if login, then we want to do, basically we'll show a button, else. So if else, we want it to show this portion right here that we already have. And then we just want to end the block. End block. And so for the login, what do we want? Well, we want to basically have the same as what we already have here, except instead of sign up, we just want to show it to be log out. So let's go back, and we shouldn't see any changes here. And actually we get an internal error because the looks like we had a syntax error. So this actually needs to be an end if, not an end block. So we still get it here, but we don't get the logic working for us yet. So let's go back to our apps.py file, and we need to add that context to the Jinja template. So under here, we'll just go in through and I'm going to rename this to our context, and then we'll do here and just do model dump, to dump this into a dictionary. And then we'll just go right here and type in, this will be the context. And now for the context, just to test this out to make sure our Jinja is working, we'll set login is equal to true. So now if we go back to our website, if we refresh it, it should show us the logout. So it does. And then if we go back to here and just test that it's false, it should show us the option to sign up or log in. So that works. So the next thing we need to do though is we need it to be based off if we have the access token. So in order to get the check if we have the access token, we can go from our FastAPI and import what's called the cookie right here. So I already have it imported. So let's go and add the cookie here. So we'll add another variable and we'll call it the access token. Since that's what our cookie is called, we need to keep it the same name as what our current cookie is. This will be annotated, and we want this to be a string or type none, and it's going to have a cookie variable. And as default, we want it to be equal to none. So we'll set the context is equal to login, and then we'll say if access token, and then we'll say context login equals to true. And actually we don't even need this false. Basically if it's none, it's gonna, that's the same as saying false if it sees a none value on the Jinja template. So that'll just clean up a few less lines of code. So let me go back here and then let me actually go back and log in because I think I'm currently maybe signed out. So we'll just go in as test user, just to ensure that we're logged in. So yep, and as we can see, we get the log out. So that shows up correctly. So now we actually need to make this do something though. Right now it's just a button. So we need to actually make a route for our log out. So let's go ahead and do that. So we can just do an app.logout at app.get, and this will be our /logout. And our /logout route is pretty simple. The only thing we really need to do here is basically just delete that access token and then redirect our users back into the login page. So we'll call this logout. And on here, we can just access, we need to get a redirect request. So we'll do a, this needs to be a response, and we're going to call this a redirect request, redirect response. And this will again return an HTML response. So we'll say our response is equal to, and the response we want is going to be a redirect response, and we want it to go to the / slash login. And then now on this response, we need to get rid of the cookie dot delete cookie, and the cookie we want to delete is going to be the access token. So that should remove the access token from the user, and then finally we will return the response. Now let's go back to our navbar, and we need to give it the link there. So whenever they click on the logout button, it brings them to that path. So let's give it an href, and we want it to go to the / logout. So let's go and refresh our page here, and let's try logging out. And we see we get logged out. So let's just check it and go back to the home page and verify. And yep, so we can see that we are logged out. So indeed, we do that. And if we try to type in a post here, it's not going to let us. Right now that fails silently. We'll fix that later. But just to prove it, we can go to the inspection manager, and we'll go to our networking tab here and just verify that whenever we press the submit query, we did get a 500 error code since we didn't handle it correctly. But we'll fix that here in a minute. So there we have the logout. So now we just need to get the sign up and login to work correctly. So those are, again, going to be pretty simple. We just got to give it our existing roots. So let's go here. So for the login, let's give it the href is equal to the / I believe it's sign up for the sign up button. And then for the login, we're just going to give it an href equal to the / login. And let's just go back and verify those roots are working for us. So we do sign up, and we get back to the sign up page. And if we go to login, we go into the login page. So that's the navbar, and so we got that working. So returning back to this error where we had, we tried to post a post, but we were not a logged in user, and then it kind of crashed our server. So let's go back and fix that. So before we go and fix that though, let's go and make that post a little bit more reusable. So if we go back to our template, we had this portion right here, which is where we can put in the post. So let's just actually move this to its own file, which we'll call it an add post.html. So we'll go back to our index, and then let's just go and add in these right here. Add post. So this will be our add post, and then we'll go back into our index.html, and then we'll just go and include that in here. And let's just verify that that still works. So we still get the add post, so that looks correct. So let's go back here to this add post, and so whenever we're not logged in, we shouldn't be able to even add into this. So the simplest thing is actually just to disable this form. In the case that we have here, I'm just going to have it where you can't even, you can't even add this in. So we'll say, go back to our post here, and go to say, okay, if logged in, so we'll say if not logged in, then we want to say here, log in to create a post. And then we'll go back here and then end our if. And then again, if we're not logged in, then we just want to include this block. So again, let's just do it here and say, if not login, if not login. Or sorry, if login, then we'll include this post here. And if. And so now let's go back to our post and see if this works. So we need to log in to add the post. So we'll go with our login. Again, we'll go to our test user. We'll do our secret as our password. Log in, and then now we can see it there. Log out, go back in, verify. We cannot see it here, so that works. So that's all we needed to do to fix that bug. So there's one last thing I'd like to do before I wrap up this video. So right now the post, whenever we add a post on here, and if I can log in, so we'll do our test user. So now that I'm logged in, so notice whenever I make a post here, let's say another post. So whenever I hit the submit, you'll see that it shows up down here, which eventually when we're in production, probably don't really need to go through and automatically default it back to the page. But what we'd like to do is, basically not have the text reappear here and just give the user a notification that their post was added to the database. That way they know that they successfully submitted it. So let's just go and change this up a little bit here. So let's go back to our post, which was our add post here. So what we want to do is we want to have some content here that basically tells the user, if they were able to successfully add their post. So we'll say, we'll do another if block. If, post added. We'll say, we'll give it a p block. And in that p block, we'll give it a class equal to has text success. And we'll say post added exclamation mark. This will be our end if. End if. And now let's go back to our app and go to our add post route. So here's our app. And we want to go to our add the post. So here it is. It's going to be this function right here. So the first thing we need to do is we still need to post it into the database, insert the post. But we don't really need to return the actual post anymore. So we'll just say, don't return these posts. And then instead of here, what we want to do is, instead of going back into the post, so we actually need to return a different template. So we just need to return just the post.html. So we'll just do the add post. Add post.html. And then we need to update the context to just be we need to update the context to be equal to post added, that to be true. So that'll be our context. And then we'll delete this old context that we no longer need. And then again, we'll need to go and change our HTMX code. Right now, our HTMX is saying go to this post, trigger it, and then we're swapping our hashtag post. But actually, we just want to just change up this form right here, which we'll give it right here. So we'll give this the class ID is equal to the add post ID. So we'll just replace this entire element here. And so this will be, our target will be add post. And so that should be all that we need, I believe. I don't think we need this HX swap. We can just use the default. And I think that should work for us. So let's go and test that out. Let me refresh the page. So let's submit it here. And it looks like we got a bug. Or actually, no, we got it here. So let's see what happened here. Do we not save it? So let's figure out what's going on here. So we'll go and kind of debug what's going on this line right here. So let's do a breakpoint, and then let's go in and hop into our debugger and see what's going on here. Okay, so let's look at something on our HTMX that broke. So add post, and this actually doesn't need this hashtag, so I think that's why we're getting that bug. Let's try it again. Let's see, did we not save it? And now we get the our debugger, so that looks promising. And let's just return and see what happens if we do that. And we get the post added, and these are blanks, so that looks like what we needed. But just to verify, let me get rid of that breakpoint again, and let's just see if we can run it again. So let's go back to our here. Let's see. So we'll refresh the page. Let's see, test post, test, and then let's add the post, and post was added, and then it refreshes. So it looks like the behavior that we wanted. So that pretty much wraps it up. I think that's where we'll stop coding for this video. So that's it for this part 5 of the FastAPI and HTMX full stack Python development series. So in the next episode, we're going to go through and add a feature where we can add likes to our post. So that'll be really exciting. I know it's going to be really a lot of fun. I hope you'll stick around. If you've been enjoying this series, let me know in the comments, what you thought so far, if you've been following along. Thank you all for you guys for the comments you've left. It really helps keep me motivated to keep going along with this project with you guys. If you also enjoyed the video, consider giving a like and subscribe. It really helps me out. Thank you. Bye.